Hey, and welcome to this next session with myself, Stuart Hyslop, the one thing guy, as I have now been given a title about. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, let me ask you, are you a high performer who wants to succeed and grow? Of course you do. But what is holding you back? Well, that is what I'm going to talk about in today's session. When I've worked with a number of entrepreneurs, what I've actually got to see is there's a lot of tasks that they're doing that they could actually pass to somebody else. And inevitably, their growth has been stunted. So what I want to talk about today is the power of asking for help. It is so simple, yet for many of us, it's a big challenge. We actually feel that if we ask for help, well, we're actually not as good as what we should be. So what do we go and do? Well, we go and do the typical. We'll go and search it. We'll do hours of researching to try and identify how to do something. And when we start that research, what inevitably happens is we go down a little bit of a dark hole. And then we see something shiny on the side and we think, well, that's a good idea. Maybe I should learn about that. And then about this. And about an hour or two goes past, and guess what? You haven't actually learnt what you needed. All you've done is wasted an hour or two, and you're right back in the same position. And that's what I want to eliminate. I want you to be able to have this scalable growth that, well, doesn't make you think, I need to know everything. You see, when we sit down and we take control of every aspect of our professional space, we actually are, in certain circumstances, we don't have the knowledge or skill to do it. So by spending time to try and learn it, ultimately, we can actually exhaust ourselves. And by exhausting ourselves, we're actually stalling our growth. And that is not the greatest place to be in. Now, if you've ever experienced that, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Jump onto my website at stuarthyslop.com. Go to the top right-hand corner. You'll see a little button. Book a free clarity call with me, and we can sit down to see how we can identify, do you currently have a stalled growth? So with all my sessions, I always like to ask a question, and this question builds this awareness for you. So the question for today's session is, where are you currently trying to do everything yourself when help could create faster results? Where are you currently trying to do everything yourself when help could create faster results? Now, take a moment and actually internalize that question, because you're going to suddenly see that there is areas, and these areas, well, they could be delegated. They could be pushed onto somebody else that has that expertise, and that could actually expedite it. Now, I was going through the book, The One Thing, and there's a key principle that I had to highlight, and I thought that this would be rather appropriate. Extraordinary results, which we all want, extraordinary results are rarely achieved alone. Just hear that. Extraordinary results are rarely achieved alone. You see, leverage actually happens through people, it happens through systems, and that support actually starts to multiply your growth. Now, the question that you might be throwing back at me is, Stuart, yes, I understand exactly what you're talking about, but how? How do I overcome this, call it, and I say inverted commas, obsession to be in control of everything? Well, I've got 3 tips that's going to help you to almost relieve yourself of some certain tasks that's going to help you to go forward. So tip number 1, and this is really one where we need to be truthful and honest with ourselves. And tip number 1 is you need to identify where help creates immediate leverage. Now, help could be in a system, it could be in a tool, it could be in a person. But go through everything that you do. And the simple technique that you can use is look at your week. Look at what you accomplish in a particular week. What takes a lot of time? What is it that actually is stealing your time that, well, you shouldn't actually be doing it? Write that down. Then look at your day, starting in the morning, going through to lunchtime, from noon through to the evening. What is it that you're doing that takes a lot of your time? Time away from your focused activities. You see, once we can identify all our activities throughout an entire day and throughout an entire week, that awareness is how we can answer this particular tip, which is identifying where help creates immediate leverage. Once you've looked at all of those particular tasks and activities, well, then it's actually have a look at it and say, am I the best person to do this particular activity? Or is there someone better than me? And I'm pretty sure half of your activities, there will be somebody better than you. Well, that is how you then identify where help can immediately give you that leverage. So go through this particular activity. Look at your week. Identify all those big activities. And the reason I say a week, because there could be an activity that goes over 2 or 3 days. Then have a look at your day, starting in the morning, going through to noon, going through into the evening, and look at those activities and really be honest with yourself. Is there someone better? Or maybe there's a system or a tool that is better that can actually leverage and give you those immediate results. So that's the very first tip. Simple one, actually. It's one of those ones that you think, I could do that. Yes, of course. And then the next thing is, well, can I actually give it over to a tool, a system, or through to somebody else? Well, the answer is yes. Because when you do, you actually get more time back. And that time that comes back to you, well, you can actually put it onto more priorities. So that helps you to go forward and start to grow. So that's tip number 1, which is identify where help creates immediate leverage. So let's have a look at the second tip. And the second tip, really, you've already got the list. You've created this particular list. It's now starting to, well, let's look at the low value activities. And I'm really just reframing it because number 1 is looking at activities that there's someone better than you. So give it to them and let them do it. Number 2 is, well, it still has value, but you start to rate that same list from low value to high value. Now, what's the difference? High value, these are your high priorities. You know that if you do this activity, you're going to move closer to achieving your goal. Low value, well, when you do them, it actually doesn't move the needle at all. It stays in the same spot. And sometimes it actually goes backwards because it's taken some of your time. So start to have a look at your particular tasks and rate them from low value right up to high value. Now, high value, you're never going to get rid of. That is for you. All right. You're always going to do those. But the low value, it has value, but who can you pass it on to? Who can you delegate that you can sit with them and say, hey, by the way, I just need you to send out X, Y, and Z, or just complete this part or do this research for me and then bring it back to me, because that low value task could be part of a much high value task. So now that you've got all those different tasks, you're rating them from high value to low value. Look at those low value and see how you can delegate them. You're going to be pleasantly surprised how much you can delegate. And I'm not wanting you to take your entire list and give it to somebody else so that you can sit on the beach and drink those drinks. No, there are tasks that you have to own. But the low value tasks, those you can delegate. And that really is using the resources that are around you. It will give you some level of relief. Now, there's another side to these low value. And these are low value that are repeating tasks. Tasks that you do every single day. And you do them because, well, you have to do them. Well, the question is, do you? Do you really have to do them? I spoke with the CEO that every single morning he walks through his factory, and the one task that he does, and I know it blows your mind, but he actually goes through to turn on the bay lights for his factory floor. Yep, he does that every single morning. And I thought that was a menial task. I said, how long does that take you? He said, well, it's about a 25 to 30-minute walk every single morning. And on top of that, he may bump into a staff member who will then have a conversation, which means that 25 to 30 minutes could be extended to an hour. Now, that is a repeatable task. I asked him why he did it, and he said, well, the importance of turning on the lights every morning so that his staff could actually operate on the factory floor. Well, one of the very first low-value tasks that we actually leveraged and delegated to somebody else was, believe it or not, his floor manager. And it actually became their task. The floor manager, when we spoke with him, said, yeah, I'm not sure why he does it because I can do it every morning. And he's passed it over to his floor manager. Now his floor manager has the walkthrough, turns on the bay lights, and the actual CEO has nearly 30 minutes to 60 minutes extra every single morning. It was amazing that extra time he could actually focus on more important high-value tasks. So when you've created that list, have a look at those low value, see what can be brushed off, and then look at those repeatable tasks. Those repeatable tasks that you do because it's just a habit, while seeing how you can leverage and hand them over to somebody else, because ultimately you want to be focusing on those high-value tasks. Now that's a lot, but if you have any difficulty through this, creating this particular list and helping you to identify, just jump onto my website, stuarthyslop.com, and jump to the top right and you'll see the little button that says book a free clarity call. It's a no obligation call. I promise you, I just want to help. So let's have a look at number 3. And number 3 is one where I've actually done a session on how to improve your communication. Now, number 3 was quite surprising. When I started to have conversations with many CEOs, I got to realize that, well, they weren't asking clearly or specifically. So they had to ask again, and then ultimately the frustrations led to them actually doing it. So the third tip, when you're giving instructions, and these instructions follow the first two, whether you are looking for someone that you can leverage and take over a specific task or delegating to somebody else, you need to be able to articulate it extremely clearly and specifically that they understand you. And this is actually a massive tip. When I started with this particular program, I used to help my particular clients with tip 1 and 2. And then they came back to me and said, you know what, Stuart, it's great that I've broken this all down. I've delegated it, but I end up doing it myself. And I had to look deeper and understand, why is it that you still have to do it yourself? And then it became clear and transparent. The instructions was, here it is and do it. And when the actual employee or the person that they delegated it to heard it, received it, they didn't know how to do it because it wasn't clearly articulated. They were a master of being able to do it. It was just confusion. So whenever you're giving instructions, whenever you're giving any kind of detail on what to do, make sure that you ask clearly and specifically. And very important, ask them, did you understand? Tell it to me back. Because if they cannot tell you what they need to do, it means that they didn't understand it and the clarity was not there. A well-defined request actually will increase that particular follow-through and actually allow you to almost have that level of trust with that particular individual. So those are the 3 tips that I wanted to share with you. The first, identify where help creates immediate leverage. And tip number 2, delegate those low value to protect those high-valued actual tasks. And that will also include those repeatable. The how to do it is sit down, look at your week, look at those activities that you do in the week. Look at the activities that you do each day, the morning, the afternoon, the evenings, and really identify the low-value tasks, the ones where you don't have the strong input. You need to pass it on to somebody else or find a tool that can help you. And then finally, when you're handing it over, make sure that you ask clearly and specifically. Make sure that you can articulate exactly what needs to be done, so there's no confusion behind it. When you follow these three tips, what you'll actually find, and I'm going to go back to that opening question that I threw at you, well, the awareness is suddenly going to go, I know I can do this. So here's that question again. Where are you currently trying to do everything yourself when help could create, foster results? Just think about that, because that key principle within the one thing is extraordinary results are rarely achieved alone. So look around, see how you can actually delegate or pass over to somebody else or a tool to help you to go forward. It's such a simple process, but at the end of the day, it is the power of asking for help. And that power is going to help you to grow. Don't think that you're alone. Nobody succeeds alone, and also nobody fails alone. So make sure that we do it together. And failure is just the opportunity to learn. So the quote that I'd like to finish off with today, you don't have to do everything yourself to succeed. You don't have to do everything yourself to succeed. So simple, but do we actually take it to heart? So remember, learning, it only creates awareness. It's the results and the actions that you take that will create those results. So from this particular session, I want you to just pick one thing from it and action it. Put it into action and see exactly what actually comes of it. I look forward to seeing you in our next session.
You've been listening to The One Thing Guy. Remember, when you focus on what matters most, everything changes. See you next time.